So although it's like we are seeing that with the 7010B, we are able to get down to lower level, okay, but this may not be needed for everyone. Okay. So in this case, it's like you may still be seeing the benefit of the 7010, okay, because you can actually start to look at having the same detection limits. You will be able to maybe work with lesser samples. Okay. So in this case, it's like you could be diluting your sample more, okay, or injecting lesser. So with all this kind of work, you will be able to see that you can improve the lifetime of your liner, okay, and also the lifetime for your column. And you can also be looking at scaling down your sample prep, okay, like reducing the sample from maybe 1 liter of the water sample, and can be able to reduce it down to maybe like 10 times of like just 100 ml, okay, or it could be like reducing the amount of sample that you actually weigh out. So you can also be maybe considering lesser sample prep, okay, like for example, taking away pre-concentration steps that you previously may have to do, like with the liquid extraction or some SPE kind of concentration of the samples, okay, and basically you may be also having to actually do some reconcentration by evaporating off the excess solvents, okay, and redissolving it in a different solvent and so on. So there may be even possibility of going down to actually just diluting a sample and analyzing it directly. So with the better sensitivity of the system, we are able to actually look at having some simplifying of the sample preparation and reducing of the samples to actually help with keeping the instrument cleaner for a longer period of time, as well as extending the lifetime of the consumables. So with the tandem portable systems, we are typically operating in this MRM mode. Okay, so Agilent has this Pesticides and Environmental MRM database that actually provides a database for each of the pesticides, okay, and other environmental pollutant compounds with up to about 10 MRM transitions. Okay, a total of about 11,000 plus compounds are in this database. So this will allow you to actually create the acquisition method without starting off with some standards itself. So in this database, there are actually 4 GC methods available to provide the flexibility depending on users' requirements. So we have actually a full screening constant flow method that is actually about 40 minutes runtime with retention time locking compound, which is the propyrophos methyl, that's locked to a retention time of about 18.111 minutes. But for smaller database, a smaller list of compounds that you are actually screening, you can actually consider this fast constant flow method, which is actually a 20 minutes run, okay, with the same retention time locking compound that is actually locked to different retention time. Okay. There are also a specific method setup that is actually based on a 5 meters kind of column setup in the beginning, connected with a 15 meters column, okay, for constant flow kind of pressure setup, flow setup as well. And this is basically a method that can also be used where you have all the information available in the database also. There is also a constant pressure setup because we do have users who are actually working with the constant pressure kind of setting. Okay, so you can be able to follow the database with this 40 minutes runtime setup, okay, with the same propyrophos methyl locking compound. So this table here actually shows the classification of the 11,000 plus, 1,100 plus kind of basically compounds. Okay, so the majorities are the pesticides, okay, but we do have some other environmental pollutants compounds that are included. So another features that we'd like to actually discuss with the tandem portable system is the capability to perform dynamic MRM setup. So the pictures on the left is basically based on what I call the time segment method setup. Okay, so this might be the setup that you're more familiar with, where you actually will specify the start time, okay, and basically the end time for the list of compounds that you're using within around this time range. So with this setup, it's like if let's say you actually change your column to a new one, or you actually cut it and so on, the retention time may be affected. So in this case, you will have to start adjusting the start time to ensure that your pesticides are eluting within the right range. So there's an alternative where you can actually consider is to make use of this dynamic MRM setup. So with the dynamic MRM setup in this case, you will be specifying the retention time for each of your compounds, and then you can set up a retention time window for these compounds to be acquired. So if there's some change in your column, the retention times get updated and so on, you just have to easily update the retention time for your compounds in your method, and the windows will be adjusted accordingly. So this will make it easier to manage the methods update, the maintenance, especially when you have a lot of compounds to look at. And also another benefit of the dynamic MRM setup is that, see, as you can see, if we are using the time segment method setup, if we will be having to monitor all these 3 compounds, since they are put into the same range. So if let's say we have like 2 MRMs for each of these pesticides, so we will have to be monitoring 6 MRMs. So we have to adjust the dwell time accordingly to ensure that we have sufficient data points across each of the compound pesticides. But with the dynamic MRM setup, in this case, because we are only acquiring the MRMs for that particular compound at the particular retention windows, so in this case, it's like we can be able to monitor fewer MRMs simultaneously. So in this case, the dwell time can be appropriately adjusted to maximize the sensitivity. So this dynamic MRM setup is available with the newer versions of the MS-EPA software. So basically, you can actually be able to continue using your time segment-based methods if that's your preference, or you can actually convert them to the dynamic MRM setup as and when you are ready to do that. So with the triple crop system, we can also make use of this optimizer that's coming with the MS-EPA software. So this is an optimization tool that allows for fully automated MRM method setup from end to end. So you can actually see in this case, it's like basically you will be able to go through the optimization tools with all these various selections. So you can actually first get your precursor ions that you actually can see, and then from your compounds after you perform the scan. And then basically you can be able to make use of the optimizer to get the product ion scan to be acquired over the various collision energies. And then you can let the software also help you to work through the selection of the product ions. And then you can also make use of the tools to get the collision energy optimized for each of the transitions. So basically for this optimizer, if you're a new tandem quadruple user, you can be able to use any of your scan, or SIM methods from your single quad system, and then set it up as the MRM. And then for existing users, you will be able to make use of this optimizer if you actually are moving maybe from a model of a triple quad to another. So you can actually make use of it to optimize collision energies, for all your current MRM methods. And then basically you can also be adding new pesticides that you are monitoring to get the MRM transitions information developed from your scan data. And then you can also make use of it to actually update the retention time. If let's say you have changed to a new column, that's longer, or there's some changes to your oven program. So basically you can actually refer to this application notes that's shown here with the application number to actually see the optimizer being put into use. So this is actually they are making use of this categories sample matrix to actually make use of the optimizer to develop the pesticide MRM method. So you actually see that it's a very highly automated optimization tool. So in this case, it's like there were actually about 35 pesticides of interest that they were actually trying to develop, and they are able to actually get up to about 18 transitions for each of the pesticides to be developed. So the first step is actually running a high concentration standards of all these 25 pesticides in solvents in the scan mode. And then using the data, you can be able to use the optimization tool to actually select the appropriate precursor ions. Then following that, all the other steps are fully automated. So there's actually all this product ion scan that will be automatically set up with the optimization tool. And you can see that for the 25 targets, you can actually get all this developed within 12 injections. So because there are some pesticides that are co-eluting, so that's why there are additional injections being done to be able to give us the necessary information. But all these are fully automated, and you make use of the optimizer. So in this case, is that we are selecting 6 precursor ions and developing 3 product ions for each of the precursor ions. So a total of 18 transitions were actually being developed for each of the 25 pesticides using the optimization tool. So another feature that we'd like to introduce with, especially for the triple quad system, is the JetClean. So this JetClean is actually an optional item that you can actually set up for your system, so that you can actually help to minimize the cleaning frequency, or in some cases even eliminate the source cleaning. So for users of GCMS, you'll probably be quite familiar with these features that you are seeing. So after running the samples for a period of time, the ion source will get contaminated. So this may actually affect the sensitivity of your analysis. So you will have to take out the ion source and perform some cleaning of the ion source. Okay, so this will take a bit of time, and then you will have to actually put it back to calm down, and it will take some time to stabilize again. So this manual source cleaning can be kind of disrupting your testing routine in a way. So you also have to factor in this regular source cleaning in order to maintain the system's performance. So if you actually add in this optional JetClean setup, you can be able to see that you will be able to get some form of automated source cleaning using the software control. And this will actually allow you to maintain your source cleaner for a longer period of time, so that you can actually reduce the cleaning frequency. And in some cases, you may even be able to kind of eliminate the source cleaning that is needed. So now let's look at a bit more information related to this JetClean. So again, we have all these application notes that you can actually refer to, as well as a poster that were actually published in ASMS in 2019 related to the JetClean. So with the JetClean, we are trying to maximize all our instrument uptime and also throughput. So what we actually have is that we will have this JetClean module that is actually added. So it will be introducing a small flow, a small and controlled flow of the hydrogen gas into the MS system. So this actually helps to clean up the ion source. So this is actually the way how the JetClean actually works. So it is compatible with both our extractor source, as well as the high efficiency source system, and also with whether it is the EI only or the EI-CI system. And it's basically all software control. So there are 2 modes for its operation. It could be operated as an acquire and clean mode. So that means it's like while you're running your samples, it is cleaning the source at the same time. There's the other option is clean only mode. So this clean only mode is a separate method that is actually being run to clean up the system, following the samples that you have actually analyzed. So with the continuous cleaning of the source, it actually has been shown to significantly improve the linearity and precision of response over time. So this is actually a very simple kind of setup that allows you to actually keep your source clean while you're running the samples. But we do see that in some cases, for some compounds, that might be actually having some interactions with hydrogen gas, then you can definitely adopt this clean-only mode. Okay, so with this clean-only mode, you will only be kind of performing the cleaning after your analysis is done. So it will not be interrupting or interfering with the target compounds that you are analyzing. So now I'm going to actually share a few applications that we actually make use of the tandem conjugate system. So starting with the PAH, the polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Okay, so these PAHs are basically monitored as trace contaminants in many food products, as well as environmentally air, water, and soil matrices. The challenges associated with PAH analysis is the very wide molecular weight that you are dealing with, okay, and also the very wide body range associated with all these various PAHs. And pH compounds tend to be sticky, so you can actually readily adhere to surfaces if there's some cold surfaces that is flowing, traveling past. And also, it is actually subject to this desublimation in a way, so it actually condenses directly as a solid from gas phase without passing through the liquid phase. So it can easily get deposited on surfaces and contaminate the surfaces as well. And definitely because of the very high molecular weight and boiling point range, so it is actually compounds that are like difficult to vaporize for this analysis. So all this complex then there's all these additional peaks that are not supposed to be there showing up. Helps with the sensitivity and can analyze. So you actually start to see some harms and so on around it. By operating in the MRI mode, it can actually help to improve the detection of all these PAH compounds in challenging matrices at low level. And as you can see that these pH compounds may have actually all this possibility of desublimation, decomposition on it, and so on. Okay, so you can be able to see that having the optional JetClean setup will help to maintain the system clean well for a longer period of time. And as I mentioned that with our 7000D system, it has the optional larger draw-out lens. Okay, so like in this case, we will normally put on the 9mm expector lens, okay, for the pH analysis, so that we can actually ensure the wide dynamic range, okay, and also basically minimize all this deposition of the pH compounds by having a larger draw-out lens. And also, you can actually set up your system to allow for backflushing. Okay, so in this case, all these additional heavy matrices that are actually eluting at the end of the run can actually get backflushed out through the vent instead of getting onto the detector and causing the detector to be contaminated faster. So to support the backflushing setup, we have this pneumatic software system set up in a way that actually allows us to control the flow properly for the backflushing setup. So with this application notes, you can actually see that they have demonstrated excellent stability, okay, with the ICs averaging about 4.5%, for over 60 injections with 27 of the PAH compounds. So there's a significant reduction in all these spectral interferences that were observed when we moved to the MRM mode. And also with all the JetClean setup, we can actually see reduced need for manual source cleaning and also trimming of the columns. So this way you can be able to keep your system running in good condition for a longer period of time. So now we're actually looking at another application note information. It's basically looking at using the CPC setup that you can actually perform online Mini-SPE cleanup with the tandem portable system. So our China colleague has actually set up this application node with 3 different matrices, the apple, orange, and lettuce, basically representing a very simple matrix and a more complex matrix with the orange, and lettuce having the high chlorophyll content. So basically, it is using the Mini-SPE cartridges that are set up on the CPC PAL sampler, so that you can actually do the cleanup automatically. So patches is basically the quite common kind of extraction technique and cleanup by dispersive SPE being done for pesticide analysis in food matrices. So in this case, we are actually trying to look at the comparison of the online cleanup versus the patches or dispersive SPE cleanup. So you can actually see that these are the scan chromatograms for the 3 sample matrices using the dispersive SPE and with the Mini-SPE cleanup. So basically you can see that the matrices are much thinner as compared to when using the dispersive SPE for this case. So similarly for the orange and the lettuce as well. So this actually shows that with the Mini-SPE cartridges setup, it's able to give us better cleanup performance for these 3 particular matrices as compared to the dispersive SPE on the patches. So another benefit of this is, of course, the automation of the workflow. So this is actually well tested, so very robust and a mature setup. So it's also able to give us the good recoveries as what we expected with the dispersive SPE cleanup as well. So between about 70 to 130%, and ISD are also quite reasonable down to below 10%. So another applications that the tandem portable may be used for is nitrosamines analysis in drinking water. So with the EPA Method 501, it is actually a method that requires the ion trap system to be used. But basically the ion trap systems are being phased out. This technique is like obsolete. So that's why now the labs are actually looking at an alternative technique that can be made use of. So basically with the EVA, they actually kind of make use of the tandem portable systems to look at analyzing the nitrosamines in drinking water. So there were 2 phases of studies that were actually performed to look at actually first comparing the results that they're getting on the ion trap versus the tandem portable system. So in this case, you can actually see that the graph shows with the tandem portable systems, the lowest concentration minimum reporting levels are all much lower as compared to the ion trap system. So the 7010B and the 7000B could easily meet all these LCML and also the detection limits kind of requirements that's required by the EPA 521 method. So, and in this case, we were even able to make use of the smaller injection volume and also shorten the runtime and ensure baseline separation of the analytes. So based on all this data, the EPA has actually formally approved the use of the tandem portable system in lieu of the GC ion trap for this nitrosamines in water analysis. And now we're actually looking at another application on the pesticide analysis for strawberries. So you can always refer to the application notes to get more detailed information. So on this slide here, we are actually zooming in on this tiamedoxam pesticide. Okay, so this is actually a pesticide that is known to be kind of difficult to analyze using the GCMS system, okay, because of the thermally labile nature. Okay, so an alternative is to use the LCMS system in a way. Okay, so but with this application note, it has been demonstrated that using the 7000D system as well as the 7010 system, okay, we are able to get down to very low detection limits, okay, and also quite a wide dynamic range. Okay, so which is actually expected for the strawberries pesticide analysis, because the range could be quite wide, okay, from about 10 to 25,000 ppb. So this is actually a plot here over here that actually can demonstrate the benefits of having the more sensitive 7010 system. Okay, so this is actually on the 7000D in a way. So we actually can see that you can see much nicer chromatogram plots, okay, the MRI plots in a way, okay, with on the 7010 system. Okay, so it is actually able to give us LOQs that are lower, okay, even below the calibration level, the lowest calibration level of 1 ppb. But however, in that, because for the strawberries pesticide analysis, we actually are looking at 10 ppb or more. So that's why it was not necessary to actually perform quantitation below 1 ppb. Okay. But we can definitely see that there's still the possibility of going down below 1 ppb on the 7010 system. Now moving on to the pharmaceutical kind of applications with the tandem portable system is the monitoring of nitrosamine impurities in drug products, okay, and drug substances. So in around July 2018, the FDA actually announced the recalls of several sartan drugs, okay, due to the detecting of the nitrosamine compounds, especially the NDMA. Okay, and subsequently, there were more of other drug products that actually will start to actually recall. Okay. So let's actually start to monitor the presence of all this NDMA, NDA, and so on in all these drug substances and drug products. Okay. So with the FDA methods, there were actually a few methods available. So one of them is basically using the heat phase with the GCMS setup. Okay. And also there is actually a liquid phase method that's developed by FDA as well. Okay. So in the later part of the development, they actually start to look at using the GC tandem portable system. Okay. So in this application note, we actually demonstrated the very good sensitivity. When we moved to the tandem portable system setup, the very high signal-to-noise values were actually obtained, which is actually giving us, showing us that it's much better sensitivity than what actually FDA methods requires. So all this chromatograms here is actually having a spike of all these various drug substances, okay, so various nitrosamine compounds in a way at the LOQ level that FDA specified. Okay. So you can actually see that for each one of them, okay, the peaks are still showing up very distinctly. Okay. So it's showing that with our setup, we can even go lower. Okay. So you can actually demonstrate much better sensitivity compared to what is required in the FDA method. Okay. So very low LOQs could be achieved for very trace level detection. So the improvement are actually seen to be about 2 to 20-fold, okay, better than what is needed as per the FDA requirements.